One word. Preparation.
Preparation.
By failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
You're propelling to fail.
I said preparing.
Preparing.
By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. One word to rule them all.
Is that like Yoda?
Might be. I don't know.
Or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
One word to rule them all.
I think Gandalf said that. By failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
You must prepare!
But it's real.
It is real.
Like in business, in life,
yeah.
And in finding a factory in China.
The only time I ever feel scared of doing something is when I don't prepare. If I prepare, I'm ready. You know?
It's kind of like that, oh crap, I'm about to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what does that mean? You know?
Yeah, tell me, what does that mean?
Is it me running this show today? Well, the biggest mistake I think people make when they're about to start manufacturing in China is after they've done the product research and they validated the product, they're ready to actually find suppliers to make this thing. They don't prepare. They don't understand how their product is made, what the intricacies are of that, and what the manufacturing process is like. And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to become an expert or you need to be an engineer, but there are tools that you can use to get educated about what it is to make your product.
So, if you're making a product, you should at least understand the basics of how the product comes together.
Of course. How can you effectively communicate with suppliers on how your product is supposed to be made if you don't know how your product is supposed to be made?
And I think maybe a lot of you have this expectation that, well, that's what the factory's for.
Or that's what my sourcing agent is for.
Yeah, that their expertise is knowing how the product's made, or at least in the case of sourcing agents, figuring out how the product is made.
Yeah.
And this can be a problem.
And especially, specifically for you guys, I feel like the vast majority of you guys will be, new entrepreneurs, and you have a limited budget. If you want to pay an expert to teach you how to make your product, you have to have a lot of money to spend on that.
And if you want somebody good enough that actually cares about your product and is going to fight for you when things go wrong and it's not up to snuff to the quality standards that you have, then you're going to have to really pay. Because most people don't give a rip about your product. Yeah.
And at the end of it, even then, you still need to have a basic idea of how your product is made. Like it's just good business practice. So you're probably thinking, well, I'm not an engineer. How do I even come up with an idea? Like, how do I even know how to make this product? Do your Googles. That is one of my favorite ways, even within my own business. When a new product comes to me, do my Googles, man.
The Google Noodle.
I deep dived into learning how to make helmets for 3 months.
You're a helmet master.
A helmet master. I was in the forum. I was in there, man. I think I could design my own.
You're a master of protection after that.
Yep. Whatever that means.
Same for me. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to make a watch.
Yeah.
I learned some really cool crap about making watches.
Exactly.
And making watches from hand, which I'm never going to do, because my watches are made in factories with machines, CNC machines. But I was watching this guy take a block of metal and come out on the other end with a watch. So
there's a ton of information out there, free information. But like I touched on forums, right? So you're going to forums to find experts. Yeah, like with Luke's example, he was in forums with watch manufacturers, watchmakers. They're all having deep conversations about how to make these products. And I found a forum that was talking about helmets for a client of mine, and that was great. Like I could jump in there. Yeah. If I really was serious about it, I would ingratiate myself into that community and then ask them questions, right? Build the trust and then ask them questions. Beyond that, similar situation, get plugged into an online community. Enter China being one of those communities. We have. How many people have made watches in EC?
Yeah, at least 7.
Yeah. So when you came on, there was at least 4.
Yeah.
Right. So that was him being able to tap into this community of
very
people.
Specific questions.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to lose a little bit of suppliers. Like when you start doing research, I tell my staff this all the time. It's you can burn through 5-6 suppliers just asking them stupid questions.
Yeah.
If you really don't understand how to make this product, just ask them a shit ton of questions. Ask them a lot of questions, and then you'll have many options after that. So you'll then be communicating with other suppliers from a more knowledgeable standpoint, right? And then find out where your product is actually made in China. Like, there are hubs of manufacturing in China. Of course, southern China is where most of the manufacturers are, but there are certain products that are specialized, and there are areas in China where those products are made. So if you find that area, not only are you tapping into the that specific factory, but there's going to be factories around that area. That also,
we have a diagram of that, don't we?
I think so, somewhere in the EC forums, right?
Yeah.
We can
maybe we can link it up.
We can link it up.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you don't have to necessarily be an expert, but you do have to have a good grasp of how to make your product. And once you get to that stage, when you feel comfortable enough to communicate the intricacies of making your product, now you're ready to start searching for suppliers, right? So the first thing is, the best way to search for suppliers is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like with any business, I'm pretty sure you guys would much rather work with a company that your friend recommended than doing a search yourself.
I mean, that's why it's so important to know people that are doing manufacturing. I mean, if you're sitting at home at your desk or wherever you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't really know anybody that makes stuff or anything, then you need to start putting yourself around people that actually do make stuff.
That's that mastermind talk.
Yep, that mastermind talk.
The
stuff that you want to do and you want to do well, surrounding yourself with those kind of people are always going to benefit you. Not only just for the sake of actually doing it well, but also getting the connections like we're talking about and finding quality factories.
We call it Guangxi in China.
Yeah. It's
building those connections. So beyond that, if you're physically on the ground, going to the markets, I've talked about this before, and then also trade shows, like the Canton Fair is huge. There's a toy fair that was in Shanghai just last month. Like, just to get on the ground and then go to those trade shows, and then you'll be able to sort of find suppliers for your product fairly quickly. So those are some of the best options, but the most common is obviously for you guys that are outside of China. And even for me, I use Alibaba and global sources all the time as searching, right? So Alibaba is probably the one that all of you guys are familiar with.
What is global sources?
Global sources is actually older than Alibaba. That's the funny part. Yeah, sure. I'm doing something like that. Fun fact. No.
Did you know that?
Did you know? But anyways, Global Sources is older than Alibaba, but the reason why Alibaba blew up is because Global Sources is a little bit more restrictive in terms of the suppliers, and they actually really vet those suppliers before they get listed. So typically, if you're doing an online search, I like to go to Global Sources first.
So Global Sources has like more
high quality manufacturers for sure.
Kind of like the best of the best.
Specialized, and it's very rare actually on Global Sources that you'll ever find yourself talking to a trading company.
Yeah.
When it was listed as a factory.
Because they're looking at everything.
Yeah.
They're monitoring all that.
More strict. Alibaba, of course, slightly less strict, and but just a lot of options.
You get scrappy on Alibaba.
Yeah. But if you're really serious, if you're Yoda, if you will, you want to go to 1688.com.
That sounds like a porn site. Where are you sending these people?
That might be 166 something else.
Yeah, just make sure you type 1688.
Anyway, so this is the Chinese Alibaba essentially. So if you're going to be going to that website, you better make sure that either your Mandarin is flawless, or you can get somebody else who's going to help you communicate on that website. But the benefit is, typically, prices are much lower there. The prices are much lower, but the negative side is they might not communicate in English, they might not have English staff.
The whole site's in Chinese.
And also the factories might not have experience exporting, so you might have to walk them through that process. So that's really like when you're further down the line and you maybe have somebody that you can ask to help you with that process. You probably want to start off with Alibaba or Global Sources if you're a first timer making an original product in China. So I mean, let's focus on Alibaba, right? Because Alibaba is the most common version.
Right.
It's pretty murky.
Most people in our community use Alibaba. I use Alibaba. Rika uses Alibaba.
At the end of the day, it's got the best search results, the most search results, and maybe not always the best, but there's ways that you can.
So is it just as simple as like I want to sell paper cups and just going in and typing paper cups and?
When you get to the home page, you want to be a little bit more specific than that. Like, so my recommendation is always just like add the material plus something specific about the product description.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't be too specific where you're going to narrow down your search results too much, and it shouldn't be too vague because then you're going to get a bunch of factories that are just putting keywords into their search results. So a good example would be like if you're Luke trying to make a watch, you go aluminum men's watches.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it's
which I did.
Yeah, which exactly what he did. So it's specific enough that you're gonna get the right search results, but it's also vague enough that you can get a broad search.
Yeah.
Next up is after you go to the search results, there's you want to be picking the right supplier types, right? Supplier types is super confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times people are like, what is this Alibaba trade assurance? What is all that? So trade assurance is just like Alibaba is saying if you process your payment through their website with the supplier, if you have some sort of dispute with that supplier and you have a good contract in place, they will sort of give you your money back essentially.
Right.
So I think that's the most important. And next to gold supplier, for you guys that are outside of China and want to have a little bit more control over that payment processing, trade assurance is probably a good option for you guys.
Okay.
The other one is assessed supplier, and that's just basically like Alibaba hires another company to go to the factory and like inspect their facilities. It's good, but like how China, it's just hashtag TIC. You never know what
somebody got paid a couple mouths to make sure they got on the trade assurance page,
and you never know if that was actually the real factory, right? Like they might have just told Alibaba to go to a different place and put a sign up that says, this is my factory, and then you
gotta watch out for that stuff. It happens.
So those are the things that you want to be focused on with supplier types. Then from there, you want to narrow down your search results by location as well. As I mentioned before, there are manufacturing hubs in China, right? So if you know what province your particular product is based in, then you want to search by that. If not, probably just go with Guangdong province, because Guangdong generally has like the most professional suppliers and like the ones that have English speaking staff and like all that stuff, so you want to focus on those. But the reality is, after you've narrowed down your search results, you're probably thinking like, well, how do I even pick which suppliers I want to talk to and things like that? You're not at that stage yet. At this stage, you should just open up a lot of tabs. I mean a lot of tabs, based on the pictures that you're seeing, based on the sort of the search results, like the keywords in the search, and then from there you're going into kind of like the factory's homepage, right?
Let me just stop you real quick. It sounds like really complicated. Can't like we just pull up the first few that look good and just go with the one that seems the best?
Listen, you gotta date multiple people.
You gotta date around, huh?
How are you gonna know who you wanna marry if you've never had any experience, But seriously, you need multiple options.
Yeah.
You need multiple options. You have to sift through a bunch of different factories, and it's not like you have to go through this deep assessment of each factory at this stage. At this stage, you're looking for professionalism. Don't grade on a curve.
And it's like you don't want to lower your standards either, right? And you want the best. If you want the best product, you got to put in the effort.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to put in the effort, you're probably not going to get what you wanted.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you don't put the time in now, later on down the line, you're going to be paying for that. So, yeah, you really need to be doing everything that we're talking about here, even though it seems like a lot to open up all these tabs and like talk to all these suppliers and all that stuff. It's totally worth it.
You think about it like this: you're putting in this work to develop a business that's supposed to support you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. There's no easy solutions. Yeah.
And it comes down to the minutia. Like even the factory's website should be professional. They should have put in the effort to create a professional homepage. It doesn't matter how good of a manufacturer they are. From the business operations perspective, that's super important if you want to build a relationship with this factory moving forward. So, you've got the tabs open. You're looking for professionalism. Like I said, don't grade on a curve. Don't be like, well, this is China, so like it's not. No, like you want to look for professional looking websites, and then start to creep the website. What do you think I mean by that?
Just like peeking around. How's their website looking?
How's the website checking out? Exactly. I mean, you're going into their website and checking out their products, seeing what other products they make. Do they specialize? If they specialize, most likely they're a factory. If they have a very broad range of products, trading company.
Right, which is something I ran into with aluminum. People just making aluminum products in general.
Yeah.
But I was looking for a watch factory that could work with the aluminum metal. So you have to be careful. What is your end product? What kind of factory are you looking for that can create that end product? Maybe some people work with a base metal more than they do with the actual product that you're creating. And then you just have to source that metal to the final assembly factory.
Exactly. And I mean, that's another thing you have to think about is, based on your business, based on your product, is this factory a good fit? It's not just like, hey, I just found this amazing factory that works with Disney and they have, you know, they have 200, 500 employees. It's like they can make 1 million units a month. It sounds great, but the reality is if you're doing a 5,000 unit order, they're not going to care about you. It's just, I'm sorry, but this is the reality of the situation. So you want to find a supplier that's maybe medium-sized, that also maybe has the same qualifications, but a 5,000 unit order for them is a little bit more attractive than you know yours to another factory, right? So make sure it's a good fit. So at that stage, you know, if you're like, you've done the search results thing, you've identified quite a few suppliers based on this initial information, you want to take that information off of Alibaba and put it into a spreadsheet, what I like to call the initial factory list. The important thing about this is now you're sort of focusing on the most important details about those suppliers and then putting all the suppliers in one place so you can compare each one of them. I like to do between 20 to 50 suppliers. It depends on the product, of course.
Yeah, it just takes time. You gotta put in the effort.
You gotta put in the work. You gotta put in that grind. And I mean, you're comparing the suppliers based on, you know, the costs, you know, production lead times, like location, like I said before. You know, are they a good fit in terms of size? You know, if you pick a factory that's in the middle of the boondocks, like you're just not, like it becomes difficult to even visit that factory if there's an issue. Right? If there's a problem and you need to hire somebody else to go there, it's going to be super expensive. Shipping, you know, getting a truck to go there to pick up the products, like there's just a lot of issues that can pop up if they're in a weird location. And just make sure you get the basic information, like contact information, you know, sales rep's name, website, those kind of things, and then make that initial factory list. And you're probably thinking, well, so I'm just doing this research, I'm curating this information off of Alibaba, am I ready to send an email yet? No, you're not. You're still not ready to send an email. Like the reality is you still have to, if you're designing an original product, you have to make sure that you have a certain checklist ready before you start to communicate with suppliers. Because it's not just about like, hey, I've designed this thing and I'm ready to go. Make sure, do you have the actual design files that a factory needs to give you any sort of quotation or any sort of you know, feedback on the product and how feasible is it to make, right? So there's that, and then there's also like a non-disclosure agreement. Of course, it's not going to be ironclad because hashtag this is China, but it's going to help with discouraging that factory from sharing your design files, right? And then time is huge, time and money. Yeah. Concerning
the contracts and the necessity or the not so necessity of contracts in China, actually Rico wrote a really lengthy blog post over on the Inner China blog about that very topic.
Do contracts matter in China? Check it out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
It might surprise you.
Right now. Scroll down.
There's a link.
Click on that link. Check it out. Can't take myself seriously. Stuff like that.
Yeah, you gotta loosen up.
So time and money, right? And then there's one more thing, a project overview. So just in the same way that you want to keep all the information in one place, create a simple project overview that goes along with your design files that you can just kind of send as an attachment to suppliers. So now that you've done that, if you have that checklist ready, you're ready to send your first email. But that comes in the future.
Next time on Inner China.
We'll go into that. We'll go into that. Don't worry about it. Teasers. So this is what preparation looks like. You're putting in the grind to understand how to make your product. You're putting in that work, getting a good idea, getting a good grasp of how you can communicate what you need to your manufacturers. And then you're also going through the right channels for your supplier, whether it's online, offline, thinking to yourself, like, where am I in my life right now? What can I afford? And then you're picking the right channel to find the right supplier. you're creating a spreadsheet. You're doing the right search and creating a spreadsheet with a bunch of suppliers.
Creating that initial factory list. Which we actually have a template for that, and we're going to link it up so that you can get that initial factory list template, because we realized you might wonder what that's looking like.
Exactly.
So we created a template.
I didn't even talk about this before.
We're going to create a template, and the link's going to be right there.
I have a template. I was just like, oh, we're doing that? I guess so.
Making stuff up as we go.
But yeah, make sure, and then as well, that checklist that I said, once you have all that, like make sure that you are ready to communicate with the suppliers, make sure you have all the documentation in place, and make sure you have time and money, because creating an original product is not an easy thing to do. But I promise you guys, if you put in this level of work, if you put in this level of preparation, brought it back. See how I did that?
Yoda, man. Playing mind tricks.
Put in this level of preparation, you will be on the right path to making quality products in China.
It's the truth. Do this and dominate.
One word: preparation.
Preparation. If you know somebody that would benefit from knowing how to find a quality factory in China, share this with them.
Yeah. Scroll down.
Just give them the link.
Give them the link. We'll just
email, Facebook message.
Press share right now.
Yeah. Call them into a room.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Give it to them, because they need it. And sharing is a good character trait.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. All right. See you guys in the next one.
All right. Cheers.